Yo, what up? This is D Knight, and you're listening to the Pardon the Interaction podcast. My oh my, we've had so much going on. For starters, in case you missed it, we've got a new addition to the Pardon Pie family, Tara Dublin. Make sure you go follow her on Twitter at Tara Dublin Rocks. Also, pick up a copy of her book while you're at it. Make her day, The Sound of Settling. A very fun and interesting read compared to the things we talk about on this podcast. But yeah, we're heading toward the do or die time for the 2024 election. Go ahead and hit up JoeBiden.com. Get that man like $1 a month or something. Help his campaign staff up and get prepared to try and save our democracy. And make sure to grab like one other person you know and tell them about the podcast. Make sure they subscribe and tune in every single week. We got a lot of things coming up for you this year. We need all the support that we can get. So if you do your part and help us grow our audience, we'll do our part and help elect Joe Biden in 2024 and save American democracy. And this is the Pardon the Insurrection podcast.
Who's there behind you?
All right, that's definitely
cop?
we're not going to put that in the podcast. Don't worry, I actually will edit that out.
We haven't started yet. Why would you put this in
while we're recording it?
Oh,
you know, look, every time we do our little pre-show meeting or whatever, where we talk about whatever the fuck,
and then Derek's always like, I'm not going to include this. And then then like when I'm listening to it, I'm like, there it is. And you're, don't worry, I'm not going to include this, Carol. Go say as many embarrassing things as you want. I'm like, well, that does remind me of the time where I was really embarrassing. And Harry's like, ha ha ha, I'm putting it on the show.
Hey, look, but you don't notice the things that I do delete. You're just like, oh yeah, just listen. You're like, whatever the fuck we were talking about. I was like, I remember that. But when I don't include something, you're never like, hey, thanks for not putting that part in.
Well, no, I always do, because wwhenever it goes a while and then I don't hear my voice, I'm like, must have been fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah, you were fucked up last.
And I had to ask myself, it was one we were listening to, that was lit. And then I was like, did I fall asleep right now at this point? And I was listening, and then like you would hear me giggle every now and then.
Oh yeah, to know you're still there. Well, what's so funny is you were super fucked up the last time, but you were like really good for like an hour. And so
I just crashed.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, I'm going to bed. I'm so sleepy. And we're like, okay. And then we just made a whole like 5-minute rant about this company called Sheets and Giggles. They sponsor this other podcast that I listen to, and we just talked about that shit. And I was like, hey, that's pretty funny. And then I sent the episode to the CEO of Sheets and Giggles, and he was like, okay, I'll listen to it. And I was like, oh yeah, we named it after your company. He was like, oh, and he listened to it. He's like, hey, it's pretty good. I was like, oh, that's hilarious. So yeah, thank you, Ty. Maybe we might get a potential sponsor in the future because you fell asleep.
That would be lovely.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey, this is D Knight.
This is Carol.
This is Ty.
And you're listening to the Pardon the Insurrection podcast. Yeah, man, it's been a crazy fucking week. As per the usual, it never ends, nonstop, utter stupidity, insanity, bullshit, fuck shit, dumb fuckery, whatever you want to call it.
A dumb shit ball.
It just goes on. Yes, it just goes on and on with no end, like the Lamb Chop song. Oh, but we're going to get to the bottom of it together. Let's jump right into it. Carol, after you.
So, former Republican candidate plays Grand Theft Auto, New Mexico, but IRL. A Republican former candidate for New Mexico's legislature, who police say claimed election fraud after his defeat, has been arrested on suspicion of orchestrating recent shootings that damaged homes of Democratic elected leaders in the state, police said. Solomon Pena, who lost his 2022 run for state house rep, was arrested Monday by Albuquerque police, accused of paying and conspiring with 4 men to shoot at the homes of 2 state legislators and 2 county commissioners in December and January, and of trying to participate in at least one of the shootings. Yikes.
Wait. Well, now you see why I was like Grand Theft Auto. It's like San Andreas, except some Hispanic guy in New Mexico. Happy times. He's running around like jacking cars with a machine gun, doing a drive-by.
The new mission where you have to run for office and then like start a fraud suit when you lose.
Hey, you laugh at that, but they might actually put that in Grand Theft Auto 5. It's possible.
Yeah, you have to like teach your character to be like, this was rigged.
I mean, at this point, like he'll be driving around picking up prostitutes and robbing banks and shit. Well, no, never mind. He won't be doing any of that because he's going to prison. Sorry, continue.
Oh, I thought we were still talking about the game. See, that's how close fantasy is to reality, apparently.
Life mimics art.
Indeed. Anyway, though the shootings injured no one, Pena intended to cause serious injury or cause death to the occupants inside their homes. I don't know why I went into like a robot voice to denote that that was a quote. Robot quote intended to cause serious injury or death to the occupants inside of their homes, end quote, robot. According to the arrest warrant affidavit.
Yeah, that's what it's gonna sound like when artificial intelligence tries to like make its own podcast. Anyway.
Joke complete. Before the shootings, Pena, after losing the election, approached the county commissioners and at least one of the legislators at their homes. Not creepy at all. Oh, and uninvited, to allege that the election results were fraudulent, and that's what the police and officials said. But at least we know that because they entered the homes uninvited, that this person is not a vampire.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Ty. Well, whenever you write your vampire story.
But he could be a werewolf.
Oh.
Or just a crazy stalking murderer.
I mean, it's entirely possible that he's a crazy stalking murderer, but what's more likely is that
he's a werewolf.
No. What's more likely is that he's following in Trump's footsteps of claiming his election was rigged once he lost and taking vengeance into his own hands. But unlike Trump, he's actually willing to do his own dirty work. Like,
That's true.
Of course, he hired other people to shoot at Democrats' houses, but he was like, yeah, I want to ride along one time. Let me even bring my own gun.
Like $500. Like,
oh, I don't even know how much money he is. That how? Don't tell me people was like, oh, $500. Yeah, I'll go shoot at some elected officials. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, right.
Are you for real?
Private residence.
I don't know. Is this what's that called? Wild speculation. What did we call that segment?
Reckless speculation.
Reckless speculation. Is this the reckless speculation section, Ty?
I don't know. Ty presented that evidence as though it was factual. I didn't even think
she was
to
like
look
500
up.
per person, and you're like, "Whoa, Ty, 500 per person," and she's like, 500? That's nothing. Is that a thing per person? And then we're like, that is known.
They say there's inflation.
It is known inflation.
Well, think about how crazy it is that someone's willing to take like a couple grand to shoot at a bunch of elected officials. Like, you're going to prison forever if you get caught. And they got caught like that.
But it's like he wanted to go. But it's like, well, bruh, why didn't you just keep the money for yourself?
And yeah, go buy your own guns and do your own.
You know?
He could have saved 15% by switching to Geico and shooting up the houses himself.
Those are some sparkling waters, Foster, in those yellow cans.
If anyone is wondering, in Ty's fridge, the yellow cans contain seltzer.
But no alcohol, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Non-alcoholic seltzer for drinking.
Yeah. All right. So we make a bunch of jokes about this, but I do feel like I personally do a disservice as to just bringing attention to how much violence Trump's behavior inspired. Like, this isn't the first act of horrific political violence since January 6th. This is just one in a long list of events. It's just, man, the shit never fucking ends. I can't wait till this guy's in prison. Like, I know we're all like, oh my God, when will there finally be consequences for this dude? They're coming. But Jesus fucking Christ, when they get here, boy, am I going to fucking celebrate.
I know. And I need them to get here like prior.
I mean, I'm going to dress up like a sexy bitch, like I'm George Santos or something. Anyway, Ty, after you, speaking of which.
Alrighty. Drag queen dog killer story time with George Dolezal Santos.
Dolezal, as in Rachel.
Oh, it's Dolezal.
Yeah, remember when like Rachel was like, oh yeah, you know what? I'm half black, because Santos tried to pull that shit too.
Okay. Representative George Santos competed as a drag queen in Brazilian beauty pageants 15 years ago to acquaintances told Reuters on Wednesday, adding to contrasts that have drawn criticism of the openly gay Republican congressman's staunchly conservative views. A 58-year-old Brazilian performer who uses the drag name Eula Richard said she befriended the now congressman when he was cross-dressing in 2005 at the first gay pride parade in Rio, and 3 years later. Santos competed in a drag beauty pageant there. Another person from the area who knew the 34-year-old congressman but asked not to be named said he participated in drag queen beauty pageants and aspired to be Miss Gay Rio de Janeiro.
I actually was wondering whether he was gay or not, because remember, like, we found out that he was married to a woman for like a decade.
Oh, he's definitely gay.
Well, he's super gay, and I've seen the pictures, and that's no judgment. Like, I gotta be honest, like, him being gay and dressing in drag is like his only redeeming qualities as a person.
I guess as a bunch of drag queen obsessed leftist filth, we really just most associate with him as a drag queen.
No, that's not what I'm saying. But like,
that's what I was saying.
Okay,
I'm just kidding.
He is, from what I've put together from my handful of psychology classes in college, is I think that he is angry at the gay community because he doesn't have it, so to speak. Because that being that many years ago, okay, then he was 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
And probably, just from what I've gathered, just looking at the pictures, he immersed himself in the scene, and he was like, had these delusions of like being this glamorous RuPaul Drag Race style drag queen.
Yeah, he wanted to be Miss Gay Rio de Janeiro, and like, I've seen them traps down there. They way hotter than this dude.
He wasn't really like well received. It's not unlike the Clarence Thomases and Larry Elders out there, the Candace Owens, who go the complete opposite, do a complete 180 because they are unhappy with the community that they feel didn't accept them or for whatever purpose. So they just go.
I feel like it's all with those people. It's projection. They're self-hating, and they're taking their anger out on the communities that they're supposed to be a part of, if not be representative of. Same thing with Santos here. Like, how do you be a drag queen, but you're a fucking Republican? It just doesn't even make
sense. Because being a drag queen didn't pay, and being a Republican does. Like, look at Candace Owens.
That's totally fair.
She hired the NAACP. She ran her anti-Trump blog. She tried all of her multiple, like, online little magazines and stuff.
Right.
But it wasn't until she did this video on this YouTube video saying that she got the attention that she was seeking and quote unquote acceptance. Now I look like Don Jr.
Okay, look, audio medium. Ty was doing like the finger thing where she's waving her hands, and it looked like when Don Jr. is high doing his little Instagram lives, whatever the fuck it is. No, hey, you know what? It's funny you say that, because like about Candace Owens and the like, because we're Democrats and that's why we're broke.
Yeah.
It's like, if we wanted to make money, we would be out here like shilling for Republicans and the conservative movement. We could make a lot of money doing that.
And we could. There's still room.
There's still room. Yeah, absolutely.
Still room.
They would kill to have us.
Yeah, but we have principle.
I was thinking, because I was a Republican most of my adult life.
Yeah, Ty, we don't tell anybody about that. We're hiding that from the people. They're not supposed to know. It's a secret.
About it. I can accept my own.
We can't. We're like, what the fuck? Every time you say it, me and Carol are looking at the screen like, no.
I tune it out every other time, apparently.
But the thing is if I wanted to grift and call out the fake, the rhinos, like Owens, like, I'm like, I could probably carve out a nice little grift for myself.
We could. Just think about it. A Jewish lawyer, a black woman writer / author / screenwriter, and my dumb ass. Like, Think about how much fucking money they would pay us to spout their bullshit.
We just need a
And we won't ever do it.
three-part name: Velvet and
Oh yeah, we
Smokey and
chocolate. I don't know what the fuck. Anyway, yeah. So
that doesn't go together too good. Velvet Smoky Chocolate is here. Which one is which? I'm gonna always have to wear this and stand on the left. I'm wearing velvet.
Yeah, that's why she said velvet. She has a literal velvet jumpsuit on as we speak.
So it's amazing. Yeah. I love it.
Velvet chocolate and smoke. Yeah, it doesn't have the same ring as diamond and silk, but I mean, technically, diamond and silk doesn't have a ring to it because diamond is dead. All right. I'm so sorry. That was terrible. I would say rest in peace, but I'm glad that bitch is gone. On to the next topic. Jack Smith subpoenas the living shit out of everything. This one's a long one. Bear with me. Reading is fundamental.
Where?
And I'm not sure how astute I am at the fundamentals. Anyway, a wide-ranging subpoena sent to Trump campaign officials last month shows new areas of investigative interest as part of the the Justice Department's extensive January 6 criminal probe. And lawyers say a grand jury focused on the day's events and related fundraising has increased its activities in recent months. One part of the 4-page legal document asks recipients to reveal if anyone other than themselves is paying for legal representation, and if so, to provide a copy of that retention agreement for that legal work. At least one other former campaign official also received the subpoena, according to that person's lawyer, who also spoke on the condition of anonymity to avoid drawing attention to his client. The subpoena seeks communications or information related to Dominion and Smartmatic, two voting tech companies that were subjected to a barrage of false conspiracy theories floated by advisors to Donald Trump. That request seems designed to gather what campaign officials might have been saying privately at the time Trump backers were publicly disparaging those firms in the wake of Joe Biden's 2020 victory. I mean, also, Fox News is facing a lawsuit for similar accusations. I do believe Rupert Murdoch was recently deposed. The subpoena shows the Justice Department was interested in other Trump entities besides the Save America PAC, which the Post and others reported last year was the subject of an inquiry by investigators. It seeks all documents and communications related to a panoply of other Trump-affiliated groups, including the Make America Great Again PAC, the Save America Joint Fundraising Committee, and the Trump Make America Great Again Committee. This motherfucker had like a shit ton of these fucking political action committees where just money was flying through and getting funneled to them from any and everywhere. I mean, it's every time I just even think about Trump's finances, it's so convoluted and weirdly structured that like I can't see it as anything other than money laundering. Anyway, yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah. Recipients are asked to produce documents related to the formation, funding, and or use of money of the groups and to show all employment contracts or correspondence with the groups or officials affiliated between them. I mean, they're really taking a deep dive into the finances. And this is one of the things that you think about, like when Trump was president and Mueller's Special Counsel Office was performing their investigation. Rod Rosenstein didn't give Mueller an opportunity to look through Trump's finances. And now that like law enforcement officials are actually getting that opportunity, it's like the shit seems so much like fraud and money laundering. Like they have to find something. It's insane. Yeah. Anyway, the recipients were also asked for documents related to the genesis of an election defense fund, an entity that Trump officials created to raise money from grassroots donors after the election. Officials later testified to the House committee investigating the January 6th insurrection that such a fund never technically existed, but was a mechanism to generate funds from other people who believed and were outraged by Trump's false election fraud claims. So this motherfucker was raising a gazillion bucks to go to a fund as part of a PAC that doesn't actually exist. Like that's so much textbook fraud right there. Like they could nail him on that alone. Like, I mean, look, Steve Bannon himself is going to trial in New York for basically the same shit with the We Build the Wall fucking thing. I mean,
with his We Build the Wall scam.
Yep.
Everyone who got defrauded of that deserved it.
I will not disagree with you on that, Carol.
Okay, Carol, despite the fact that they deserve it, it's
It
still
doesn't
a crime.
make it less fraud. Sorry.
Yeah, no one fraud is more deserving of criminal indictments than any
Sorry,
other
that
fraud.
wasn't my legal commentary. It was just
Well, I mean, if you're going to donate to a guy to build a wall, fuck you.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. There
I
you
don't
go.
say that about every defrauded victim. Just these
Well,
guys.
I mean, I feel bad for some of Bernie Madoff's victims.
yeah, of course. So that's what
That's different.
That's
He
different.
promised them like a financial return. Like these motherfuckers were just donating to something stupid.
to
There's
just
the key.
keep people out.
Yeah, totally asinine. In a world dominated by planes and flight, and
In a
or
world
and travel by boat. Yeah,
dominated by
in a
planes and
world
flight.
dominated by airplanes, we're going to build a wall. See,
We're gonna build
you
a
deserve
wall.
it. Much of what is in the subpoena received on December 9th is already known to be under federal investigation, and its wide-ranging request is potentially a sign that the probe is far from complete. It asks for detailed information about the fake elector scheme orchestrated by Trump's team, naming more than 100 of them in 7 states: Georgia, Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Nevada, New Mexico, and Michigan. I probably could have done that off the top of my head. Anyway, the subpoena also asked campaign officials to provide any analysis they had done on whether the election was stolen and whether they shared the analysis with others. It demands documents about the January 6th rally on the Ellipse, including fundraising and planning, along with coordination with any outside groups about the event. One of the main takeaways from that massive dump of information that I just gave to you is that Special Counsel Jack Smith investigation is only widening. Like, we're not at the end, we're closer toward the middle. Like, he's looking at a lot of shit. All the shit that we thought Merrick Garland should be looking at, Jack Smith is absolutely taking a look
Special Agent Jack Smith.
at.
Special Counsel. That's what I meant. Jack Smith.
That guy is so awesome. Like, and then he's so unbothered by
Jack Smith.
Donald Trump and his rantings
His
and
bullshit.
Jack Smith.
which makes him even more awesome. So
Well, I mean, I'm sure in his mind, he's like, man, this shit is fucking crazy. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? But he's a professional. He's all about doing his job.
Jack Smith.
One of the things that I'm absolutely glad that he's taking a look at is the funding and planning of Trump's rally on January 6th. Not just the actual physical attack, but the people who basically not only funded the event for Trump, but took care of the transportation for attendees. That took care of organizing the event, getting the permits and whatnot. Because it's difficult to believe that like all this was random happenstance for the people behind the funding. Like, they had to know that this was more than just Trump holding a rally. They had to know that he had some kind of plan on making his way to the Capitol and trying to undo Biden's victory. I mean,
think about like the buses that Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, that they was bragging about.
Yeah.
Dozens of buses
in a tweet that has since been deleted because it's fucking damning evidence
that they organized. They had to know how much they need. They had to contact the bus companies, organize it, and also they had to reach these people, either somehow give them tickets or somehow what that organization
right
of getting these people,
thousands of people.
BC, the people that were on private planes, in addition to the ones out, and it's like, okay, where did they congregate, get them all? How did they know how many people, who was going to be on the bus? Was it first come, first serve, or,
right.
What have you? All of that was organization. They had to know.
I mean, there has to be some documentation there.
Exactly. And my first thought after, like in the aftermath of J6, as I was like, is anybody talking to the bus drivers of these buses?
No kidding.
That was a long ride, and I'm pretty sure there was a lot of shit that was said and done on those buses on that trip. People are hyped up there, and they're probably like, yeah, we're going to go in there, and we're going to tear them, we're going to hang them. People talk when they're excited, and they thought that
hanging out at the hotels on the 5th and everything, talking about this shit.
So it's like, this company, who contacted you? Call the bus company. That's not hard. Who hired you? There's got to be an invoice, unless somebody showed up with a briefcase full of cash and just, then you know, what have you. But like I said, the bus drivers, that's where I would start, because they were, you know, bus drivers, they peep shit. Anybody
You writing this down, Jack?
Well, if anyone who paid attention to the Oath Keepers trial, I mean, look, somehow that didn't manage to like even crack the top 50 news stories at the time. But one detail from the trial is that the Oath Keepers, they were like absolutely relying on a massive number of people to be at the Capitol to give them cover to actually enter right. They wouldn't have been able to enter the building without they needed enough people to keep law enforcement busy on that day so that they could like have cover to weave in between the crowd and break into the building and take care of, well, you know, Congress.
Exactly. So, while we're distracted with Confederate flags and
right
with the podium and shaman, you know, we didn't notice the guys in flak jackets.
Right. Well, if they can connect the Oath Keepers to the people who funded like transportation to the event and the staging of the event, like because the Oath Keepers needed cover, if the people who contributed to these people being at the Capitol that day, like that's basically criminal intent. Like that makes them part of the conspiracy. So hopefully Jack will nail that down. I mean, and of course we have, you know, we'll say accusation that Jeannie Thomas was involved in securing transportation. So it's entirely possible there's another way we could link the Supreme Court to the coup on January 6th. So that's something fun to look forward to. We'll see what Jack comes up with in that department.
How many special counsels does it take to make them less special? Which is also the name of our next segment.
Nailed it.
No one will know that. Oh no.
Transition.
Anyway. So FBI investigators on Friday found additional classified material while conducting a search of President Joe Biden's Wilmington, Delaware home.
For those of you unaware, apparently Joe Biden has been stashing classified documents in random places as well. He was like, oh yeah, Trump ain't the only one. Let me do my own classified document shit.
Yeah. So Bob Bauer, the president's personal attorney, said in a statement that during the search, which took place over nearly 13 hours Friday, quote, DOJ took possession of materials it deemed within the scope of its inquiry, including 6 items consisting of documents with the classification markings and surrounding materials, some of which were from the president's service in the Senate, and some of which were from his tenure as vice president. DOJ also took for further review personally handwritten notes from the vice presidential years, end quote. So, yeah, man, it's not good, Joe. What the fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck, Joe? You're supposed to be more responsible than this.
Get your shit together.
Well, you know, in context, I don't think that Biden was doing anything nefarious.
No, we don't think he took these documents with criminal intent or even like negligence. It's just negligent intent. And they've already confirmed, investigators, that nothing was related to like nuclear secrets or whatever. Yeah,
like
no documents about our national
like
defense.
it wasn't, and you know, and there's so many different levels. We still don't know what levels of
classification.
Let's get further into that.
Okay, yeah. Hey, look. So the basic classification levels are secret. Above that, it's top secret. And then above that, it's basically like sensitive compartmented information. Those are basically like code name levels of classification. Like you need to be read into that specific code name to be able to have access to that information. And you also have to have a need to know. Right. We don't think Biden was in possession of any materials whatsoever that reached the top level, the SCI.
Yeah.
All right. So the 6 items they found are in addition to materials previously found at Biden's Wilmington residence and his private office.
Right.
So the federal search of Biden's home, while voluntary, marks an escalation of the probe into the president's handling of classified documents and will inevitably draw comparisons to his predecessor, former President Donald Trump. Even if the FBI...
I'm sorry for writing former president in there. I usually why did I put that? Let me delete. Anyway, continue.
Former president. Even if the FBI search of Trump's residence was concluded under different circumstances. So yeah. The FBI months ago obtained a search warrant to search Trump's Florida residence, Mar-a-Lago, an unprecedented step that was taken because federal investigators had evidence suggesting Trump had not handed over all the classified materials in his possession after receiving the subpoena to turn over classified documents to the National Archives. Trump's handling of the classified material at Mar-a-Lago is also the subject of special counsel investigation led by Jack Smith.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. I was just using totally appropriate intonation. Yeah, so the search shows that federal investigators are swiftly moving forward with the probe into classified documents found in Biden's possession. It was overseen by the office of Trump-appointed U.S. Attorney John Lausch, who had been handling the initial review of the Justice Department's probe. So, that's nice.
Note.
We have a Trump guy.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, there's a couple ways to look at Merrick Garland handing this off to Lausch. One way could be the idea that he's trying to appease conservatives by giving the investigation to a Trump appointed official, which I guess it's a useless endeavor. The first thing they did was call him a shield, basically. I guess another way to look at it is when it comes down to it, if Trump is charged and Biden isn't, he can always say, hey, look, I gave it to a Trump appointed official. There was no bias here. He called balls and strikes.
Yeah, it was smart. That was really smart cover. The way he swiftly appointed someone was just good to show that there was no bias. And then people come back and they're like, oh, what do you think now? Yeah, investigate Biden. But no, investigate Biden.
Yeah.
I also agree.
What is hugely overlooked in the media is that it's not only is it not an apples to apples comparison, but it's not about the documents. Obstruction of justice is the underlying, the obstruction of justice, which is, and another thing to point out is no search warrant had to be issued
because Biden's people were
cleaning out the office, found some documents and turned them over.
Immediately. They didn't waste any time.
Yeah, immediately turned them over. And then they conducted a search at his home. And
his own lawyers did. They were like, hey, we want to go above and beyond and make sure we've turned everything over to you.
It wasn't a year of
back and forth
before he finally returned documents. And then
he kept some stashed away.
Discovered and then they realized that documents were still missing, and then lying. And it's like all of that is obstruction of justice. That's the difference. That is the difference, and it matters because Trump.
Well, there's a lot of differences. Hopefully, Biden isn't selling anything to China and Iran.
Okay, people
allegedly.
Anyone listening to this, you're probably going to get mad at me for saying this. But Trump's not going to get in trouble for any of the documents that he actually returned of his own volition, whether it be to NARA or to the FBI upon their request. Everyone who's had any experience in prosecuting these kinds of cases, and these are the people that I get my personal information from before I make my own judgments about the situation. They all said at the time, after the FBI searched Mar-a-Lago, that if Trump had just cooperated and followed instructions and returned the information as requested, we wouldn't even know about, not only would there not be any charges, we wouldn't even know about all of this.
Exactly.
Well, and there's an if, and it's a big if here. He would have had to not go on Truth Social and tell everyone. So in theory, no one would know about it until he was like, they took my stuff. It was mine.
No. Well, not even that. It's if he had returned everything initially as requested, they wouldn't have searched Mar-a-Lago. The only reason they searched Mar-a-Lago is because they were like, "Oh, we have information that he didn't
they
even
knew how serious that information was. He had information. He had nuclear documents.
Yes, and they were still going to let him off if he had just cooperated, but he couldn't even do that.
Did he have them to give back?
Some he did, but there's also, I'm just wondering, okay, if there's some kind of cross-referencing that they can do, because it's like, okay, you have the date of documents. What was going on in the U.S. at that time? Were there any votes when Biden, the documents from when he was in Senate, like that could have potentially be affected by, there's very simple ways to just kind of cross things off or
the cross reference. Yeah. Look, from what I understand, so classified information, as far as the hard copies go, no one's actually keeping note of exactly which documents have been printed out and sent where or whatnot, unless it's like the highest level, like the compartmented information, the specific code name information. They keep track of who accessed those files, who's printed them off, for what purpose, who they were sent to, whose eyes they were seen by, and whether they were recovered and returned. Anything below that, it's basically because that information has to be kept in a special facility. Like they monitor that. The rest of the information, it's assumed that people are operating in good faith, if they're qualified to handle that information. So they don't keep tabs on that. But I imagine with the Trump situation, what they were able to do, because the documents were probably so poorly handled that like what they returned were only portions of documents, so they were able to see what was missing and what wasn't. Or maybe from the folders that were returned, they could see, what specific information was supposed to be contained in each folder and whether or not they retrieved all that information. I'm guessing that's the way they're going about it. Don't quote me on that. That's my informed opinion. That's not necessarily fact, but yeah. So just to give you an idea of what we're looking at here.
Yeah. So, all right, back. Let's see.
All right, Carol, where the fuck were we?
We were talking about the search of Biden's residence. So Lausch did not initially request the search of Biden's properties in his first review, according to sources familiar with the investigation. He also didn't wait for Biden's team to complete their voluntary searches before recommending a special counsel. Robert Hur, who was appointed a little more than a week ago, is still transitioning to his role as special counsel. So Robert Hur is the special counsel on the Biden case of classified documents, I guess.
Yeah.
Hur becoming the fourth special counsel appointment since 2017, along with former FBI Director Robert Mueller, former U.S. Attorney John Durham, and the recently appointed Jack Smith.
I love when
How
you
many
say his
special
name like
counsels do we need?
Hey, wait, I don't like it when you say his name like that. You don't say our names like that. Do you
You don't want me to say your name, do you?
Oh, well, when you put it that way. Well, only in private.
Okay. Yes. So the FBI search was done with the consent of the president's attorneys. People briefed on the matter said the FBI also previously picked up documents found at the residence, which the Biden team disclosed last week. So, consent instead of like a screed about how they stole the documents. Great. This is looking good.
Yeah, cooperation. It's the way you're supposed to do it.
Yes. The search did not require a search warrant or subpoena, according to a person familiar with this matter. Isn't that nice? Just all the cooperations. The first documents were found in Biden's private office on November 2nd, but not publicly revealed until earlier this month when CBS, not the pharmacy, they weren't involved. When CBS first reported
not
their
the mile-long receipts when you buy one tiny $2 item.
That's why they're so long. Oh, they have subpoenas on them. Okay. Since then, another
CBS
search.
has a giant subpoena, and you get it every time you buy something. Sorry.
You have to come back and spend $2 off. Since then, another search in December found that a, quote, small number of records with classified markings in the garage of Biden's Wilmington house. Oh no. And a third discovery was made at the Wilmington residence in January when Biden's legal team searched the rest of the property for documents. They found them in a room adjacent to the garage. So they're searching hard to find any incidental items that may have been left over from a previous time. It sounds like, they're making a diligent, good faith effort to comply with the law. Good for them.
Yeah, they went on the search. They're like, okay, we found these. Let's cover all our bases and see.
So like they're still looking. They really want to cover. Yeah, they really want to make sure it's done thoroughly, and then they're done with it.
Exactly. So I appreciate that, but of course, right-wing media is always going to say, and even mainstream media, because
you're right. No, you had it right. Right-wing media, the same motherfuckers who were like defending Trump and like, how dare the FBI and blah, blah, blah. Now they're like, lock Biden up, these same motherfuckers. A couple of points of note. One, it's unfortunate that people are not more responsible with classified information. I get that, like, if you're a principal, as in like, an FBI director or the president of the United States or the vice president, like, your entire day is spent around classified information. So I totally understand how, you can have a negligent slip up and this, a couple pieces of paper end up here and there. It's totally understandable. But also, it's rather frustrating when you know that you've got a major espionage investigation of a former president, and you as a current president can't seem to get your shit together. But like I said, it's totally understandable in some cases. After a transition, like, stuff gets packed up, it gets shipped off, it gets misplaced. These things happen. And if you're going to be involved in such a, unfortunate set of circumstances, Biden is showing you exactly what to do.
Yeah.
Just cooperate. If you discover you have possession of these documents, you notify NARA immediately. They notify law enforcement immediately. There's no friction. There's no stories, no lies being told. None of that. You just cooperate. You give them what you have. If they want to search any other locations, you let them. You give them back the materials. The shit goes away because there was no criminal intent.
Yeah.
Another thing with the appointment of yet another fucking special counsel, one way to look at this is, again, like Merrick Garland attempting to placate the right in the bad faith fucking arguments by basically putting a conservative in charge of investigating Joe Biden. And that's probably one fair way to look at it. Like, I too share some of that sentiment, but another way to look at it is the swift appointment of a special counsel in this case, given that Republicans have taken control of the House, means that they can't get up to shenanigans in the House. Like, this investigation is basically, it's a closed door. Like, no one is going to be able to abuse their power as a chair of a committee or as a member of the House to try and dig up dirt on Biden as far as this investigation is concerned. So as much as it is of a con to have like a Republican, or basically a conservative, appointed a special counsel in this investigation, the pro is other motherfuckers can't meddle. So they're going to have to wait for a public report at the conclusion of this investigation, the same way we will. And we all know, regardless of what information the special counsel finds, Trump was the benefit of this as well. Biden's the sitting president. Ain't no indictments coming. Office of Legal Counsel, bro. Take it up with them. They wrote a fucking memo, says you're not going to prosecute a sitting president. It is what it is. Like, yep. So that's what it is. We're going to get a report. He's going to decline to make any charges, at least as far as Trump, or rather Biden, is concerned. Anyone else who purposely mishandled this information, I mean, they might be shit out of luck. Biden's untouchable. I mean, it is what it is. All the fuck well.